Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this casted Company of Heroes 3 showdown. It's going to be Orange Pest once again spearheading the Africa Corps, facing off against Isildur here on the British forces. So let's get this party started, have some fun, and see how these top players roll. Now, on the south side of the map, it is going to be the Africa Corps and the Orange Pest. Up to the northeast, it is going to be the British forces led by Isildur. Love the name for sure. Now, Royal Engineers going to be the opening. Royal Engineers, of course, are insanely good in close quarters combat. So sometimes if your opponent kind of lapses in micro, you can close the distance with line infantry. These guys can trade really well. They, of course, have the short-range Sten submachine guns. One of my favorite units to use. And yeah, just really, really nice. So, section command post going to be coming up. Obviously, we're going to be seeing some of the British infantry sections coming out. And these guys are amazing. They have access to a couple of cool upgrades. You can go with the machine gun, which is actually my least favorite upgrade. One of the more popular ones, obviously, is going to be the Boys anti-tank rifle, which is especially pertinent in this matchup. The Boys anti-tank rifle, despite being nerfed, is still one of your better answers in kind of the mid-game against the Italian tanks, half-tracks, all that sort of good stuff. So I'm curious to see if he's going to go straight for the Boys rifles, or if he's going to be maybe trying the old sniper rifle tech, which does give you a mortar call-in. It's kind of fun stuff, a little bit slow. I think it's too easy to dodge the mortar call-in, but nonetheless, who knows? So, double engineer opening, followed up by rifle section. For the Africa Corps on the bottom, we do see several Panzer Pioneers coming out. So, yeah, it's going to be triple Panzer Pioneer, and then I would wager it's going to be the Bersaglieri. These are the Italian line infantry. These guys are great. Track stars are really, really dynamic at getting across the map. They do not have snare grenades, which is the only downside. So if you're facing off against some sort of armor, let's say the British player wants to rush some Hummers, for example, you can run into a little bit of an issue with that. But typically, Hummers and light vehicles, unless it's the Stuart, but if we're just talking like Hummer, Greyhound armored car, the 8-rad armored car that the Africa Corps has access to is a pretty good answer against those in my anecdotal experience. So, motorcycles out, we got the speedy boy going to be going to capture points, and we obviously saw last time in the Orange Pest game how truly insane his micro is with these. He's going to be bumping your infantry, he's going to be supporting his dudes from downtown, capturing points wherever he needs. Now, Isildur, he's got his infantry section, and this is what I was talking about. The Reese package here does give you Lee Enfield rifles, so it makes them a little bit better at range. Also gives you flares, which can be nice for late game grinds, just having one section with flares to spot for you and your artillery. Can potentially be good, and obviously the Boys anti-tank rifle is what you're normally going to be seeing. So on the far side, engineers for the British moving up, being pressured by the Panzer Pioneers. Panzer Pioneers will get absolutely crushed by the Royal Engineers in close quarters, and the same is true at a distance for the Royal Engineers getting hammered by the Panzer Pioneers. They, of course, have some long-range rifles here, and now that the Italian line infantry are here, they're going to be able to probably bully most of these engineers off, and I feel like at the higher level, people know how to handle the Royal Engineer rush a little bit better. I found that in kind of the pits and team games and things like that, sometimes several Royal Engineers can really overwhelm someone, but in this case, they're going to be pushed back relatively well, and we do see good ground being taken here by the Africa Corps. On the top side of the map, it is going to be the Panzer Pioneer, Italian line infantry looking to maybe flank, and the British do get their own infantry sections out now. Now, do we see any upgrades coming in? No upgrades from them? Yeah, it looks like there is going to be a little rumble on the bottom. The motorcycle going to be moving into a little bit of gunfire, but overall the infantry section shouldn't get them. Orange Pest has some crazy good reaction time. He's going to be taking a little bit of damage here. I would wager he's even just trying to shoot before he pulls back, assuming that he's going to need to get that self-repair going, and he does get away. And the two Panzer Pioneers are moving up. One of them, I believe, getting a flamethrower, which is not bad for early city fighting. A lot of people feel very comfortable going into buildings in the early game, assuming your opponent doesn't have flamethrowers or grenade tech yet. So the early flamethrower certainly could be nice for countering that and also just putting pressure on in general. Panzer Pioneers also can scale against like infantry blobs, like what the Airborne likes to do by using the grenade launchers. These things do some serious work, and overall it just looks like Orange Pest on the top side of the map really taking control with his Italian line infantry and the range advantage he has over the British forces. And obviously the infantry sections can fight them at range, but there's only one of them, and a lot of the British army is initially going to be the engineers, right? So downtown, we see a little bit of a duel of fates. We see the British infantry section overextending, trying to snake the fuel, which is always a good idea, but going to be countered here by the motorcycle as well as the Italian line troopers. And really good Africa Corps aggression coming out of the gates as the Italian troopers going to be heading into the building, but being pincered in here. And no flamethrower tech yet, no grenades. So, most of the high-level players are very good at dodging grenades, and I feel like most people don't even mess with grenades until a little bit later in the game. Whereas when I was first learning this game, I had never played Company of Heroes before. One of my first instincts from playing Dawn of War 2 was to rush the grenades, but yeah, this is a very different beast. Munitions are pretty valuable. So Italian line troopers going to be hanging in the building. Flamethrowers coming in for the British forces and a Sealder. Very good reaction there. He's able to run with those. That flamethrower would have absolutely punished them, but that is going to be giving the British an opportunity to take some ground here with the flamethrower, maybe moving up and taking this munitions while many of Orange Pest units are on the run. However, on the bottom side, we're seeing the mobility of the Africa Corps. The dreaded Italian line infantry going to be heading up and grabbing the fuel while the motorcycle grabs another point. And yeah, overall the map is looking relatively even. I would say a little bit favored for the Orange Pest. He does have the munitions on the top side and has mostly top map control. The bottom is contested and he's still pressuring it pretty well. British infantry sections, no upgrades yet, so maybe just waiting to see what his opponent does in terms of tech. You know, obviously you see a tank, it doesn't take that long to upgrade. Maybe that's when you get the boys rifle to keep them a little bit more dynamic against infantry. So it looks like the British infantry section will be able to hold it down here. And this is very standard. You see the Bersaglieri, and then you basically just rush hard to the Carro Armato, which is really, really good. That's when you get a big power spike. Okay, a rare mistake here. A Sealder might be able to get a kill. No, looks like he's going to get back as the engineers push up, and some of the low ground now will be taken by the forces of a Sealder. In the middle, we do see the infantry section pulling back. Like I said, they did take that ground that they earned. More infantry out for the British. And now we're starting to see a slight paradigm shift in terms of trading. The British were able to muster out 3 or 4 infantry sections, which allows them to trade well into the Italian line infantry, as well as the Panzer Pioneers, whereas in the early game, their engineers were being outranged. And we're really having a hard time with that. So motorcycle coming around the side, and what's really cool about the motorcycle is if you have the APMs for it, you can actually like bump infantry like this, and it seems to prevent them from shooting efficiently. And on top of that, it self-repairs. So any damage you take on this thing, assuming it doesn't get killed, you're going to be able to just cackle and repair it, and you're not bleeding any manpower. It just takes care of itself. And look at that, just that single motorcycle play coming and turning that fight. See, I would be too nervous about that. The motorcycles, I'd probably lose it, but... Engineers down here taking the middle. Bottom side going to be taken by the British. So the British are starting to take control over the southeast side of the map, and it looks like a very, very, it's kind of evolving into a nice even mid-game. Now, medical truck coming out. So the medical truck does come from the light support company here for the Africa Corps. It gives you access to steady healing. You can auto-reinforce. You can move it up into the front lines if you want to heal up your army in the fronts. And yeah, just great utility from this. And what is the tech going to be? Probably 8-rad armored car. That's really the meta. Pretty much every single Africa Corps player and their dog that I run into on ladder does this exact same build. They go for the Panzer Pioneers, they get the Bersaglieri, and then they just get the Italian tanks and the 8-rad armored car. And the reason why the 8-rad armored car is really good is because for some of these other things like the StuG assault gun and you know, these other more advanced pieces, you have to get the support element. So it's going to be a big setback in terms of upgrades, right? But it looks like he is getting one right now. He is getting support armor elements. Okay, is he going to get a StuG assault tank just to try and deal with the mass British infantry? Maybe he's a little bit apprehensive about going for the 8-rad armored car, which is normally very... I don't know if I wouldn't say it's meta in this matchup. I mean, I'm still learning the game myself, so I don't really know what the concrete meta is for a lot of these matchups. But the StuG assault gun could be really good against the mass British infantry style here, all these infantry sections, because its armor is so good that the boys' guns won't just kind of take it down. Like, they might be able to just wreck the other one, right? The 8-rad armored car. So, okay. Hopefully you guys are all learning with me. Quite a bit of fun watching these top tier players go at it. On the bottom side, we got more rifles moving, and it looks like they're going to be meeting the Bersaglieri down here. A timing grenade. Look at that. He anticipated where he was going to go. Beautiful grenade right there, and it does nail those infantry. And now these British infantry are going to be forced back to the Shadow Realm, and if they don't run soon, they could potentially get wiped, but it looks like he's going to stay the course. Timing, banking on these reinforcements coming in, but yeah, ultimately he is going to have to run back there, or else he would have his squad get wiped. Panzer Pioneers swarm it up, Italian line infantry as well. We see the points being saved for the Italian tanks as the motorcycle is going to be taking something up on the top side. And I'm really curious if he's going to be going for the StuG assault gun here. And it looks like it is going to be the case. Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good against infantry. And they're surprisingly tanky. Those guys do not mess around. And I guess it's paying respect to the fact that there's so many infantry sections out, and they probably do have boys anti-tank guns waiting. Now, the boys guns won't be useless against the StuG, but it's not going to be like an armored car or a half-track or something like that that's going to get absolutely punished. So against the British, it seems that no armored carrier, you know, nothing that the boys' rifles are going to be good into, right? Could we see an assault mechanized group coming in? This is nice. Does give you a carrier as well as grenadiers for only 200 manpower, which is quite a steal. And usually these guys are the choice I've seen. Now, the Jaeger Hunters aren't bad if you're expecting some armor of some sort. And could we see the end of the dreaded motorcycle? It looks like the Orange Pest is going to be able to get the motorcycle back, while on the bottom we do see the Panzer Pioneers grabbing the southernmost point. Yeah, very, very good scrap here in this game, but once again, it seems like the Orange Pest is in a little bit more of a commanding position. For the British, I do not think we've seen any tech ups. It's really just been the section command post, And most likely, is he getting any upgrade? He's got the training center. Okay, so unfortunately with our janky replay system, I can't see his techs, but I would wager he's just getting infantry training to make his mass infantry very effective here. But the StuG assault tank is going to just wreck his infantry. You can see a shot comes right here. It does partially get dodged, but this thing's frontal armor is really good. It's actually 210. So, I mean, I believe a Sherman has like 180 or like 200 or something. So, like, the boys' anti-tank guns, and pretty much all those Panzer Pioneers can repair this. They all can. So, even if you come in with the anti-tank guns, it can just back up, get repaired, and it's not going to be bleeding manpower. You are. Panzer Pioneers being pushed back by the boys here, so the 2 infantry sections going to move them back, but even still, 2 sections having to push back 1 engineer, I should be able to just, come and flank here with the Italian line infantry. Okay, he didn't actually rush the Italian tanks. Considering he invested in the StuG as his armor, now he could just go straight down the machine gun line. So it's kind of a cool dynamic flowing playstyle, right? He sees what his opponent's going to be doing, and potentially maybe the armored vehicles could be better if he was seeing something from his opponent that showed that. But in the case that his opponent's spamming mass boys infantry, perhaps going for like a more front-heavy kind of assault tank that's super armored and really, really infantry focused, rather than the Caro Armato, which is designed against both vehicles and infantry, turns out to be pretty sweet, man. So tanks move it up. We do see a Sealder being pushed back, fuel being taken. He does have his dudes down here doing some decent work. But now that all the Bersaglieri are going to be getting the machine guns, the machine upgrade here, they're going to trade very, very well into most of these British troopers who, don't have any upgrades at the moment. So they have their baseline rifles. And in my experience, the Bren Light machine gun upgrade is just terrible. Like, it's so much munitions. It's so much. And it just seems so mediocre. I mean, especially after you've kind of played around with Gurkha rifles and those type of units. Look at this, the StuG is in the base, and there's just like no British answer for it. Okay, they do have 1 boys rifle here, which might be able to push this tank back eventually. Do we see sticky grenades coming out? We do not see sticky grenades. So you can see the boys guns do a little bit of damage, but 210 front armor, guys, is no joke. I mean, that is some serious stuff. And yeah, I mean, this losing the command post would be so painful. And the problem is the British would probably have to pull back their existing field infantry to deal with this. The engineers can, of course, repair the building. It looks like the 2 flamethrowers are going to be moving up while the boys' rifles try their best, and they're not having a good time here. But we do see a platoon command post. My guess would be an anti-tank gun, just like a standard anti-tank gun to try and deal with this, but we'll have to see. More British infantry being pushed back by the Bersaglieri, and on the bottom side, we do see some British troopers overextended a little bit, and going to be hammered by the motorcycle as well as these Panzer Pioneers. They might be able to get the motorcycle. If they had a sticky grenade, they certainly could, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. Now for Africa Corps, what is going to be the next tech here? They obviously do have their fire support, their support armor elements, so they could get another StuG if they want. Just want to call it that. Anything from this tech tree? Probably not. Probably Assault Grenadier call-ins would be really good. Assault Grenadiers would help you bully the infantry even more. They're very, very good up close. They certainly don't mess around, but in all reality, Orange Pest doesn't even have to be more aggressive if he doesn't want to. He does have the 2 objectives. He could force the English to kind of be aggressive here, but this StuG tank, man, the StuG, or however the hell you say that. I think it's funnier to call it a StuG, so we're just going to call it that. It's actually killing a building here, which is brutal. And what is the tech going to be from a Sealder? Are we going to be seeing the anti-tank gun coming out? I don't know, man. He's going to have to do something quick. I mean, losing a big like tech building is going to be setting you back in fuel, and it really, really hurts for sure. So it's really close to dying. The StuG's just kind of base camping here, guys, as we see a couple infantry sections sitting in the wings. And overall, the Africa Corps just completely dominating this map and this game as well. In the middle, we do have a Martyr tank destroyer. So anticipating maybe a Stuart light tank or something, he gets the tank destroyer out and just having it sitting and just kind of camping on standby here. As the boys' anti-tank guns just can't deal with this armor, man. The StuG is just causing huge problems. And a Sealder is still trying to play the map. Okay, I like this. He rushed hardcore to his company command post here and is getting some heavy armor up. Probably going to be a Crusader tank. The Crusader tank will absolutely crush the StuG. So a Sealder sacrificing his barracks, knowing that he has an endgame tank coming out, and he basically has enough infantry sections, so he doesn't need to make more, assuming he doesn't lose them, right? Oh my god, the StuG doing so much, and there's a second one out as well. So Sealder really, really on the back foot here, guys. I'll be quite curious to see if he can come back from this. If he can wipe a couple tanks here with his Crusader, like kill this StuG, you 100% need to get the kill here, though. If he doesn't kill the StuG, then he's going to be so far behind. But it looks like he's chasing with the Crusader medium tank, and armor bounces. 210 armor is no joke, guys. This thing is a beast. But the Crusader's right on it, and 2 armor bounces in a row, and the Martyr tank destroyer is here, man. That is so unfortunate. The Martyr is going to be pretty good against the Crusaders. Crusaders, of course, a little bit more maneuverable than the Martyr, and you're going to need some like anti-tank guns to take down that Martyr tank destroyer. So the StuG is down here. The 3 StuGs are the 2 StuGs right now, causing massive havoc, because we do see, oh god, that's going to hurt. They're so bunched up. Oh, here comes the shot. Looks like it's dodged. As the engineer is going to be jumping on to give some repairs to that Crusader. The Crusader, like I said, is is going to need to do some heavy lifting if the British forces want any hope of getting back in this game here. So Crusader anti-tank, getting some shots there. Also good against infantry. Crusader is considered to be a generalist tank. If you look at the other British tanks, they do have the Matilda. The Matilda is like a slower, heavier version, which obviously is tankier, but not as mobile. A little bit of a trade-off. Matildas are quite good. Matildas can take bazookas and enemy tank shots very effectively, and if you have Royal Engineers backing them up, you can get some good value for sure. So the StuG does get hit here, and now there's going to be some pursuit, but the Martyr tank destroyer is in position. The other StuG back here getting repaired, and the anti-tank guns could get some big damage here. If they could finish off that tank destroyer, that would be huge for a Sealder. And now we see a Sealder coming in. He does get the shot, and the tank destroyer is down, which means now the Crusaders are going to be able to have some serious momentum here, and the British forces might be able to kind of muster a bit of a comeback. We'll see. They've got to be pretty far behind on overall resources. We do see the, these guys have the hazard removal kits, looking to clear up landmines and other things like that. But the bottom side of the map could be taken by the British forces right now. The Crusader, a second one would certainly be very welcome. I wager that's probably what he's saving up for. Did he ever rebuild his barracks? He did not. Trying to have some infantry retake the top side of the map against the Panzer Pioneers, but this is really the epicenter of combat here, as we see the StuG tanks just being super middle linebacker, man. Tanking it like champs. I think we just had a rifle section get wiped too, which is really rough. Look at these guys getting close. They're going to be trying to throw some grenades here. He needs to finish that StuG. A Sealder needs to micro this thing up. He needs to push, and he needs to just take that thing down. If he can get that StuG down, man, that's going to be money. Motorcycle coming up. Crusader ripping shots. StuG is tanking it like champs, and the other one does manage to get away, which is very unfortunate. Anti-tank rifle's doing work, but a ton of armor bounces going down. And look at the sweaty micro coming in. Just sweat pouring from all over his body here. So he does get onto the bottom of the motorcycle despite all that combat and is able to just cause so much pressure. So Engineers moving up, but the StuGs are still nearby. One of them is in decent shape. And looking at the base here of the Africa Corps, what is the tech going to be? We do see the Italian line infantry setting up landmines, or covering the landmines being set up in all the avenues, which can be game-changing. Landmines can be really powerful. Crusader tank. Oh, he's hunting for the motorcycle. Oh my God, is he gonna go? This is like a John Wick movie, dude. This guy's gonna be trying to get away here. But the Crusader tanks are really quick. Oh my God, is this motorcycle gonna get away? No way, dude. Oh, and it goes down. Dude, that motorcycle is money. That thing did so well the entire game. So rifle sections are back, and the British do manage to take some ground on the bottom, so, you know, more or less half the map is red, but really good play here by the Orange Pest. He's going to be taking that top kind of neutral point here. Some timing grenades. Wow, look at that! I didn't think it was that possible in this game to do that effectively, but in Dawn of War 2, that was a super common tactic. Obviously, that's another relic game. StuG tanks on the way. The Italian line infantry, the one thing that the English have going for them is that Italian line troopers do not have snaring grenades. They don't have anti-tank grenades. So the Crusader is able to kind of sit, and it looks like it's just going at it here. Okay, second Crusader is out. That is huge. The Crusaders could be big difference makers. They need to zerg. They need to get a confirmed tank kill. And if they don't manage to kill these StuGs, man, they're just going to be falling so far behind. Okay, the Caro Armados are out, so we do get the Italian tanks. These things are pretty similar to the Crusaders in terms of functionality. Crusaders are a little bit stronger. Looking at the armor, we do see 50 and 37. These guys are sitting at 175, so twice the frontal armor there on the Crusader tanks. But these things are dirt cheap, and once you get the Pact of Steel ability, it makes them even cheaper, and you can just go ape and just spam those Mario Karts and cause tons of havoc. So still not able to kill these StuG tanks. We do see the Crusaders just hunting to the best of their abilities, trying to reverse. The British, though, have taken some map control again, although it looks like on the bottom side, we do see the Orange Pest grabbing some territory once again, as the StuG tank here is going to be dueling the Crusader. That frontal armor really saving them just so much damage. You could also get the 6-pounder conversion. It does increase damage and penetration, and it reduces the rate of fire. I wonder if that upgrade's worth it, or if the fire rate reduction just kind of makes it not so good. Italian tank is up on the way, and in the middle we get another StuG tank and a second Italian tank coming out, guys. That is going to be a very tricky one, as we do see the double anti-tank rifles doing some good work. Very good here. Obviously, having those infantry sections scale into the late game is very important. And Crusader tank rushes. Crusaders are good against infantry as well. But yeah, there's going to be some big fighting going down here. As look at the damage these little Italian tanks tank from those. But yeah, he needs to get some picks, man. He needs to get some milk here. Okay, getting a lot of damage on the StuG tank. He's moving in. Double armor bounce. Oh my God, that's brutal. And will the anti-tank guns get in there and start to pop the Italian light armor? They are. I think a little bit more aggression is warranted. Like, there's not a ton of power here, and the Crusader tanks are, you know, pretty resilient, especially with Engineers. You could just kind of reverse up, but I guess he doesn't want to overextend and get caught. Now it looks like there's going to be a big flank coming in, as we do have another Crusader tank. So it is the British Crusader tanks. Those are going to be the epicenter of the action. Engineers nearby, they don't want to be repairing when it's getting shot, because they will get caught in the collateral damage. Looks like this Crusader is going to be pulling back up here as the Panzer Pioneers move in, but they just kind of get cooked by the flamethrowers. On the bottom side of the map, we see landmines being laid, so just landmines on all these points. As we are getting a flank, it is going to get to the rear armor. Nice flank there by a seal there, beautiful. And if he can finish off this tank, that's going to be pretty massive. One is down, and now can the Crusader tanks continue to push? Choosing to be a little bit conservative here. Backs up his Crusaders. Crusaders aren't the tankiest tanks. They're not Matildas. They don't have the awesome Scottish drivers who, are the hype men. But, yeah, they're very mobile. I'm a big fan of them. I actually like Crusader tanks a lot. They only cost 60 fuel compared to like a Sherman, which is like 90 or something like that. Hellcat tank destroyers are 70 for the U.S. forces. Oh, brutal landmine right there. But they still will continue to flip the objective, and the 2 tanks are going to be setting up top as the British forces do look to be making their way down here. Hazard removal kit. Kind of cool to see that tech. He's always seems to have one of them in the replays that I've seen so far. And what is going to be the end game here? Is he just going to keep spamming out the Italian tanks? It looks like there's going to be a Martyr tank destroyer. Martyr tank destroyers can be zerged very quickly. They're kind of squishy. The boys' anti-tank guns, as well as the Crusaders themselves, can certainly swarm and drag those things down. And now, the late game, it's going to be, what is this aura here? Isn't it kind of interesting? A unique ability here. So we have the smoke canisters, we have the firing positions disabled. Okay. Disables movement, reduces rate of fire, and increases range and accuracy. Kind of turns him a bit of a mortar. All right, the Mario tank the Mario carts are swarming. They get a nice jump on that Crusader there, which is going to need some support from its fellow tanks. The Sealder needs to get in there and crash with these if he can, but he could be losing 2 tanks right now. Or is that the same tank? I think it was the same one. It looks like it's backing away. It's very, very low, but it just barely gets away. A Sealder flanking the StuG tank down here with his other Crusader. But now the Italian line infantry going to be going up as basically a distraction. They can't really do anything against armor. They have anti-infantry grenades, which are pretty awful against armor. And yeah, just mainly a distraction. So the Mario Kart battle continues. Isildur backs up his tank here. Good reaction time from him. As the other Crusaders going to be sitting in the wings. Perhaps the Mario Kart tank is going to get taken down here. Yeah, we got 2 tanks shooting at it. Looks like he's taking the trade. This one's very low. The other Mario Kart does get up. And the Orange Pest with just crazy, crazy good micro. As he pulls in a Martyr tank destroyer to chase this thing down, you can see the Martyr is trying to get in range and shoot that tank, but it is not going to get the job done. And the other Crusader basically just on death's bed back here. And Foot Guard are coming out. Okay, Foot Guard are a good choice. Foot Guard are bazookas. They have bazookas, but they're also like kind of similar to the Jaegers. The Jaegers that like get bazookas are still good in melee. Like they're not useless against infantry. So I like the Foot Guard tech. Obviously, armor is a big part of the game plan, but the Italian line infantry should do very well against the Foot Guard. Looking at the objectives, we do see actually 2 for Isildur, so he starts to get some victory tickets down, but the constant munitions being used on the grenades, or excuse me, on the landmines, that's something that I feel like there's some builds. The U.S. forces are pretty hungry for munitions, like upgrading all your bar rifles and all that on bazookas on your paratroopers if you're playing airborne. But I've noticed that when you do play U.S. Forces armor, sometimes you have a ton of munitions because you're often using assault engineers, snipers, and machine guns to kind of get the map control in the beginning. And then you can also use the half-track and whatnot. So you do tend to have a bit of munitions excess. Yeah, but he's mining the hell out of this, man. He is just laying those. I know a lot of people told me, like, when I first started playing, I was, like, laying a ton of landmines on objectives. And I started to try and lay them in chokes more. But obviously, yeah, here in this case, just, that's going to be where your opponent's going. So that could potentially just finish off a tank if it rolls over it, right? The boys are back in town. We see the Crusader tank moving up. The Versicolari going to be running before they take casualties to try and avoid any manpower bleeding. And fuel obviously needs to be retaken as well. We have the StuG assault tank. We have the Carro Armado as well as the Martyr tank destroyer. And it looks like the Africa Corps is not going to be bothering to even get up to like the endgame stuff, like the Panzer IIIs. Or obviously they can change their call-ins to call in the more elite tanks. It looks like right now we do have the fire position, so this thing just has range. What I really like about the StuG assault tanks is the fact that their range is just like they're so tanky that they can just like kind of sit and absorb tank shots, and then your other tanks, your Mario Karts, can then pull up. So we got the minefield up here. These Panzer Pioneers definitely going to want to get away because if they get shot while they're on top of the landmine, it does often self-detonate and it could just like nuke that squad. The boys' rifles moving up, but the Carro Armados, man, these things are just great. Look how much damage they do. The StuG tank causing big havoc as well. Foot Guard getting some okay bazooka shots, but the frontal armor of the StuG tank just brutal. And the Foot Guard's really, really getting pounded super hard. There's going to be some landmines. Oh, he runs over one with the engineers. And it looks like the tank's going to run over the other one. Engine damage going down as well. That is really big. Engine damage is so huge. Like right now, the Mario Karts, if they wanted to, considering there's an engine damage tank here, they could totally just swarm on this thing. And it looks like that's going to be the case. He's got double Martyr 3 tank destroyers. Obviously, they're taking a little bit of damage from the retreating Crusaders, but this is probably going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back here for the British forces. Although if this Crusader could drag down one of the Martyrs with it, hey, that's not the worst trade in the world, but the Mario Karts are here, and overall, they are going to be swarming. And I would assume that's got to be GG. I don't see any way Isildur can come back. That was a catastrophic swarm. the orange pest just going for the throat, man. And it was good play on both sides, but overall, man, the Mario Karts are proving to be very, very tyrannical. So, StuG Assault Gun, going to be ripping shots. We got Foot Guard coming out. You know, there would have to be some big misplays. He would have to throw a couple tanks into, like, the boys' rifles or the Foot Guard. Obviously, we see some of the retreating engineers potentially going to be going down here. Big shot. That guy just straight up saving Private Ryan. That one was able to avoid it. As you do have more infantry on the way up to maybe start dropping some sticky grenades. We'll have to see. Yeah, but even still, you know, when they're getting into your base like this, that stuff. Oh, she can take it. It's Matilda. Matilda's like my favorite tank. I love it. So Shermans are my favorite. Matilda's probably number 2. The Shermanators are just so cool. With the 76mm upgrade, dude, they're just like pounding down panzers. It feels pretty righteous for sure. But yeah, we'll see what Matilda can do. There's just so many Mario Karts. And Mario Karts actually do decent damage. They can definitely swarm with Matilda. So he's just parking right here, and the problem is if you're repairing a vehicle, you take bonus damage, so you can see like almost just one-shotting it there. As the Foot Guard do come out, Matilda ripping a couple shots, but the StuG frontal armor holding firm as a Martyr tank destroyer tries to close the gap. A really valiant effort here by Isildur. He's been behind for a long time, like a long time. But he still somehow manages to stay in this game and not just get completely crushed into his base. I mean, he is holding firm and you know, doing the best he can. Foot Guard shooting into the StuG assault tanks. Up on the top side, we do see Panzer Pioneers holding it down. A lot of British infantry, and is there going to be any more British armor coming out? I wish I could see the British battle group. I can't wait till Relic adds like actual replay features. That's going to be really fun. What I'm most excited for in this game is actually live tournaments. It's kind of hard to find replays. If any of you guys consider yourself to be like, you know, top 50 players on the leaderboards, and you got some sweet strategies, just feel free to send them my way in Discord. I love casting these games, and it's so fun because I'm trying to learn myself. So, you know, watching these Dark Lords play is great. So one engineer following the old Matilda. Center City very comfortably controlled by the StuG assault tanks. So going to be a couple of those hanging. Mario Karts looking to do a little bit of flanking. So the Mario Kart does move up, dropping some big shots into the infantry here. And old Matilda going to be trying to pull back. Looks like there is going to be a British air loiter coming down. Or is that an artillery strike? I couldn't quite tell. We'll have to kind of keep tabs on that. Looks like it was the artillery strike. Oh, perimeter monitor. Okay. So that is the perimeter monitor ability, which is for the Indian battle group, if I'm not mistaken, because he's probably using the volunteer infantry, which means that when he loses infantry, it's not as expensive to replace him. It was kind of the staple of that faction's play before the nerf. Okay, Matilda gets a shot. Is Matilda going to go for the kill here? Oh, this is close. I think the Martyr tank destroyer would lose this. Matilda does have a decent probability of bouncing. They have 300 front armor. Oh, but it gets lured into a landmine and nuked. The MLG play from the pest. And now the Mario Kart's going to be coming to clean up here. So we see these guys going down. GG called here by Isildur. Good sport. And what a match, man. What a match. So I wonder if it'll let us see the post-game screen. Nope, sync error detected. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, man. That was a great game. Really, really intense stuff. And okay, I can actually see the battle groups here. So Italian combines arms and Indian artillery. Because we saw perimeter monitor, which is like the ultimate ability, which calls in, and that was one way he could have won the game. If, Orange Pest dove into his territory and he calls that in, nukes his army, maybe, but, obviously he's not going to let that happen. Italian combined arms, obviously very good. You get the Bersaglieri, you get the Mario Karts, you get just a ton of good stuff. It's a really, really good battle group. As far as like 1v1 goes, it's hands down the best. For Africa Corps, I have played the one with the Guastatori, which is very fun. I think it's more gimmicky, but it's incredibly fun to play. What's so good about the Italian combined arms is you can kind of skip the Panzer Grenadiers and you could just go straight into them. And they, in my opinion, they're more cost effective than the Panzer Grenadiers. It allows you to focus more on Pioneers, Bersaglieri, getting into the various vehicles, rather than spending an arm and a leg on reinforcing those Panzer Grenadiers, which cost like 300 manpower. Indian artillery is really good. I don't think we saw the Gurkha rifles because the StuG tanks were such a good counter against infantry, so bringing quality infantry wouldn't have been a good idea for Isildur. So I like the direction he was going for sure. But at the end of the day, the volunteer infantry not quite able to get it done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll be back with more casted action soon. Take care of yourselves. That's it. Cheers.